The world feels different tonight, heavier, quieter, as if creation itself is holding its breath. Something has shifted in the unseen places, something ancient and foretold. You may not be able to name it, but your spirit can feel it. The sense that time is not endless, that history is moving toward a single blazing moment, written long before we were born, a moment Jesus spoke of with trembling precision, the signs that would awaken the final generation. And now, one of those signs has stirred to life, not a rumor, not an interpretation, a sign rooted in Scripture, visible, undeniable, echoing across nations. Politics, wars, technology, and the beating heart of Israel. It is the kind of sign prophets dreamed of, disciples longed for, and angels studied with burning curiosity, and you are alive to witness it. I'm speaking to you directly now, because this isn't just another prophecy message floating through your screen. This is personal. This is for your soul. The world outside is racing toward a future it does not understand, but you were chosen to discern it. You were placed in this moment to recognize the footsteps of the King approaching. You may feel the pressure of chaos, the shaking of nations, the moral unraveling all around you. But beneath the noise, there is a whisper rising, the whisper of Christ's return drawing near. Tonight, we step into the Scriptures not as spectators, but as participants in God's unfolding story. Because the final rapture sign has stirred, and heaven is closer than ever. 1. The sign that shocked the watchers. Why this moment matters now. The moment this sign came alive, it felt as if a curtain lifted from the stage of history, not with noise, but with clarity. An awakening that swept across the world like a silent alarm. For years, believers watched the signs Jesus spoke of slowly unfold, but this one has ignited a new level of urgency among those who understand prophecy. And you can probably sense it too. Something has shifted. Something has begun. Jesus warned that the final season before his return would not be defined by one dramatic event, but by the convergence of many signs merging into a single prophetic picture. Earthquakes, wars, deception, moral collapse, and spiritual coldness. These have always existed, but never before have they intensified at the same time, in the same generation, with such global impact. It is this convergence that gives the moment its weight, and the sign that just activated is the spark that ties them together. Matthew 24 describes a world trembling with birth pains, each contraction sharper, closer, harder to ignore. And now, for the first time in history, we are seeing those contractions happen almost daily. Nations are aligning in ways that mirror ancient prophecies. Technology is advancing at a pace that makes Revelation's warnings possible. Israel is at the center of global attention again. And morality is dissolving at a rate that echoes the days of Noah and Lot. This is no longer theory. It's Scripture unfolding in real time. You were not placed in this moment to fear it. You were placed here to discern it. Because when a prophetic sign awakens, God is not trying to scare his people. He is preparing them, and the sign we are witnessing right now may be the clearest signal yet that the rapture is drawing closer than the world realizes. 2. Israel, the epicenter of God's prophetic timeline. If you want to understand where we are on God's prophetic clock, you must look at Israel, not at theories, trends, or predictions. Israel. Scripture calls this small nation the centerpiece of God's plan, the land where prophecy awakens and the timeline accelerates. And today, Israel is experiencing a level of shaking and global attention that mirrors the exact patterns Jesus and the prophets described. The miracle began in 1948, When Israel returned as a nation after nearly 2,000 years, something no other people group in history has accomplished. Isaiah said it would happen in a single day, and it did. Ezekiel saw the dry bones rise, and they did. That moment alone marked the beginning of the final generation Jesus spoke of. But what's unfolding now is even more significant. Jerusalem has become the world's most contested city, a flashpoint of political tension and spiritual warfare. Nations are dividing over it, alliances are forming around it, and ancient enemies are resurfacing exactly as Ezekiel 38 foretold. The Middle East is aligning into the very coalition the Bible described thousands of years ago. Even secular analysts admit the landscape is shifting in unprecedented ways. At the same time, the movement for a third temple has accelerated. Red heifers, priesthood training, temple vessels, and sacrificial language things absent for centuries are suddenly advancing. For the first time, everything required for the fulfillment of end-time temple prophecy exists. And behind every headline, there's a deeper reality. Israel is God's timepiece. When Israel shakes, the world trembles. When Israel moves, prophecy moves. When Israel rises to the front of global attention, the countdown intensifies. The reason this matters to you is simple. Jesus said that when these things begin to happen, you would know his return is near, right at the door. 3. The days of Noah and Lot. Humanity repeats the pattern. When Jesus described the world that would exist right before his return, he didn't point first to earthquakes or wars. He pointed to people, their behavior, their priorities, their blindness to the times. He said the last generation would mirror the days of Noah and Lot, a world overflowing with chaos, corruption, and distraction. And today, that ancient pattern has returned with striking accuracy. In Noah's day, humanity reached a point where violence was celebrated, immorality was normalized, and every thought of the heart drifted away from God. In Lot's day, moral boundaries collapsed, identity blurred, and sin became a badge of pride. Both generations lived under an illusion of progress, while spiritually decaying from the inside out. And Jesus said, "So it will be in the days when the Son of Man is revealed." Look around. Our world is racing down the same path. Violence spreads without restraint. Faith is dismissed. Identity is treated as fluid. Marriage is redefined. Entertainment numbs the conscience. People chase pleasure with growing desperation, trying to fill a spiritual emptiness they no longer recognize. Technology advances, but wisdom disappears. Knowledge increases, yet understanding collapses. We are building faster towers, stronger systems, and louder platforms, yet drifting further from the God who gives life meaning. Just like Noah's generation, society continues living, buying, building, celebrating, unaware of the approaching moment that will change everything. Just like Lot's world, moral confusion is treated as enlightenment, and those who hold to truth are labeled as the problem. But here's the deeper message. God did not abandon Noah or Lot. He warned them, protected them, and made a way of escape. And the same mercy is reaching out to you now. The patterns of Noah and Lot are repeating, not to intimidate you, but to awaken you before the door of grace closes and the rapture arrives. 4. The global system rising. The shadow of Revelation. 13. As the world races toward a digital future, a new kind of system is forming quietly, efficiently, and irresistibly. It is not a single invention or a single government, but a network of technology, ideology, and authority merging into something humanity has never seen before. Revelation 13 describes a global structure where control is centralized, Economics are monitored, and loyalty is demanded. For centuries, people wondered how such a system could ever exist. Today, it's unfolding in front of our eyes. Digital currencies are replacing physical money. Biometric identification is becoming normal. Surveillance technology tracks movements, purchases, preferences, and habits with pinpoint accuracy. Artificial intelligence analyzes behavior faster than any human can comprehend. Governments collaborate with corporations to shape information, influence opinions, and determine what is acceptable to believe. All of it is forming the skeleton of the system the Bible warned would dominate the final generation. But here's the truth. The beast system doesn't appear suddenly. It emerges gradually, disguised as convenience, safety, and progress. It begins with small decisions. Scan here, verify there, comply for access, until the world becomes conditioned to obey whatever promises security. The mark mindset forms long before the mark itself arrives. Crisis accelerates compliance. Fear lowers resistance. And in times of uncertainty, the world is quick to trade freedom for stability. Revelation shows a future where buying, selling, and surviving require allegiance to a global authority. For the first time in history, the technology to enforce such control now exists. Yet believers are not called to panic. We are called to perceive. The same chapter that warns of the beast also reveals a people sealed by God, guided, protected, and unshaken. While the world builds its system, Christ is preparing his bride. And the nearness of this rising structure is another sign that the rapture is closer than the world realizes. 5. The final sign. The gospel, reaching the ends of the earth. Of all the signs Jesus gave, one stands above the rest, not in drama, but in purpose. In Matthew 24-14, he declared that the gospel would be preached to every nation, every tribe, every people. And then the end would come. This wasn't a casual prediction. It was a divine countdown. And today, this final sign is accelerating at a pace the world has never witnessed. For centuries, missionaries traveled by foot, ship, or horseback, reaching a handful of regions in a lifetime. Now, a single message can cross oceans in seconds. Entire languages are being translated in months instead of decades. Remote villages receive scripture on solar-powered devices. Underground churches grow stronger beneath persecution. Testimonies of dreams and visions of Jesus are erupting across the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, places once untouched by Christianity. What once seemed impossible is now unfolding daily. Even in the darkest regions, the light is breaking through. Governments attempt to silence believers, yet faith multiplies. Censorship increases, yet the message spreads through unexpected channels. Technology meant for entertainment becomes a vessel for salvation. The world thinks it is advancing itself, unaware that God is using the very tools of this generation to complete his global mission. This is the sign Jesus highlighted. The sign that signals the nearness of his return more clearly than wars, disasters, or political turmoil. When the gospel reaches the final unreached heart, the final trumpet will be prepared. And here's the part that touches you personally. You are alive in the generation completing the Great Commission. Your faith, your voice, your obedience matter in this final harvest. The rapture is not only about escape, it is about fulfillment. Before judgment falls, mercy reaches. Before the door closes, grace runs to the ends of the earth. And we are witnessing that race right now. Conclusion. When you step back and look at everything happening in our world, the trembling of nations, the unraveling of morality, the rise of global systems, the intensifying birth pains, the awakening of Israel, and the unstoppable spread of the gospel, you begin to see it clearly. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is prophecy assembling piece by piece, exactly as Jesus said it would. The final rapture sign has stirred, and the weight of eternity is pressing closer. But understand this: God did not reveal these signs so you would fear the future. He revealed them so you would prepare for it. The rapture is not about escape. It's about readiness. It's about the bride hearing the footsteps of the bridegroom and trimming her lamp. It's about living with a purity, a focus, and a fire the world cannot extinguish. You were chosen to live in this generation. You were placed here on purpose. You were not called to panic. You were called to discern. And as the world grows darker, your calling becomes brighter. As deception increases, truth becomes more precious. As systems rise, the Spirit speaks more urgently. This is your moment to draw closer to Christ, to anchor your heart in His promises, and to live with the kind of faith that cannot be shaken. One day soon, maybe sooner than any of us expect, the sky will split, the trumpet will sound, and the Son of Man will gather His own. Every sign points to it. Every prophecy leans toward it. Every moment draws us closer. So the final question isn't, are the signs happening? The real question is this: when the bridegroom comes, will your lamp be burning?